Hello there. Welcome. Tonight, we will not be visiting a land of grand adventures or terrifying monsters. The kingdom we are journeying to is not evil, nor is it ruled by a dark lord. It is a quiet place, a gentle place, but it is unspeakably sad. For this kingdom lies under the subtle and patient weight of a curse. Not a curse of fire or eternal night, but a curse of slow, inevitable fading. It is a land of muted colors and forgotten names, a place where memories fray like old cloth, and even the sharpest edges are worn smooth by a sorrowful magic. We are going to experience this place through the eyes of a child, because a child does not see the tragedy. They only see the world as it is. For them, the curse is not a curse. It is simply Tuesday. So find a comfortable position, close your eyes, and let us begin our journey into the quiet, gray world of a child in a cursed kingdom. Let's begin. The first feeling of morning is not a feeling at all. It is a sensation of thinness. You are floating in that gentle, hazy space just before you wake up, and you can almost grasp the edges of the dream you were just having. It was a nice one, you think. There might have been bright colors in it, and the feeling of running very fast. But the details are like smoke. The moment you try to look at them directly, they dissolve, leaving behind nothing, not even the memory of having forgotten. It's just gone. And what replaces it is a quiet, calm emptiness. The air in your room feels thin too. It feels like a very old blanket, one that has been washed so many times that all its thickness and warmth have been worn away, leaving only the memory of what it used to be. You take a slow breath, and the air doesn't seem to fill your lungs completely. It's as if you're breathing in a ghost. You lie there for a moment, in the quiet, in this state of gentle emptiness, letting the last wisps of the dream that wasn't fade away completely. There is no urgency to wake up. The day is not calling to you. It is simply waiting, patiently, as it always does. Slowly, you allow your eyes to open. There is no sudden rush of light, no need to squint or shield your face. The world simply comes into focus, softly and without any fuss. Your room is not dark, but it is not bright. It is bathed in a soft, uniform, and perpetual gray light. This light filters through the single small window of your room, but it doesn't seem to come from a specific source. It is just the natural state of the air. It is the color of everything. You've heard stories, of course, in the books the teacher reads from. Stories about a thing called the sun, a great fiery ball in the sky that paints the morning in shades of gold and orange. The word golden sounds lovely, like the chiming of a tiny faraway bell. But it's just a word from a storybook. It's a nice idea, like a talking animal or a magical sword. It has no connection to the real, quiet, gray world you see when you open your eyes. Your world is painted in a more subtle palette. You can see the dark gray of the wooden beams of the ceiling, the medium gray of the stone walls, and the light, dusty gray of the floorboards. It is a world of ash and slate and dust and fog. and it is peaceful. There are no harsh shadows here, no startling contrasts. Everything blends gently into everything else. Your eyes drift around your small room, taking in the familiar landscape of your childhood. Next to your bed, on the floor, sits your oldest friend. It is a small wooden toy horse. You know from the faded illustrations in the storybooks that it was once brightly painted. You can see the faint, ghostly outline of where a red saddle used to be. But the red has long since surrendered to the curse. Now it is just a vague, dusty, pinkish-gray smear, a quiet apology for the color it once was. The horse's black mane is no longer black. It is the color of a charcoal sketch that has been smudged. You reach out and run your finger along its back. The wood is smooth, all its carved edges worn down, not just from your hands, but from time itself. It is a soft, gentle, tired horse. Lying across the foot of your bed is your blanket. It was knitted by your grandmother long ago. The yarn, your mother tells you, was once a beautiful deep blue, the color of a summer sky from the old stories. You look at it now. The blue is gone. The blanket is now the exact color of the clouds outside your window, a soft, hazy, indistinct grayish blue. It is still warm, it is still soft, but its blueness is now just a rumor. This is the way of things here. The curse, though no one ever calls it that, it is simply the way things are, is a patient and tireless artist. It does not destroy, it simply fades. It leaches the vibrancy from the world, slowly, gently, day by day. It's a thief that steals colors and sounds and memories, but it does it so quietly that you barely notice anything is missing. It's like watching a candle burn down. You don't see the wax disappearing. You just look up one moment and realize the flame is a little lower than it was before. The world is a candle, and its flame is burning very, very low. You sit up in bed, swinging your small legs over the side. The floorboards are cool beneath your feet, but not cold. Nothing here is ever truly warm, just as nothing is ever truly warm. The temperature, like the light, has settled into a state of permanent, unwavering neutrality. You look around your quiet, gray room, at your faded, dusty pink horse and your cloudy sky blanket. You feel no sadness. You feel no loss. How can you miss something you have never truly known? For you, this is what a horse looks like. This is what a blanket looks like. This is what morning looks like. It is calm, it is quiet, it is home. And the day, with all its gentle, gray, and predictable moments, has begun.
You make your way from your bedroom into the main living space of your small, quiet house. The air here is a little warmer, carrying the scent of wood smoke from the hearth and another, more specific smell. It is the smell of breakfast. Your mother is standing by the fire, stirring a pot. Your father is sitting at the small wooden table, patiently mending a strap of leather. The scene is exactly the same as it was yesterday morning, and the morning before that. It is a silent, moving portrait painted in shades of gray and brown. You take your seat at the table, your small wooden bowl already waiting for you. Your mother brings the pot over and ladles a scoop of its contents into your bowl. The food is a warm, soft, and thick porridge. It is a pale, creamy gray color, the color of wet stones. It has a taste. It is a comforting, slightly sweet and earthy taste that you have known your entire life. But you do not have a name for it. There is no word like oatmeal or gruel in your vocabulary. It is simply morning food, just as the meal you eat in the evening is evening food. The specifics have been lost to time, worn away by the curse like the paint on your toy horse. You eat your morning food in silence, listening to the gentle crackle of the fire and the soft rhythmic scrape of your father's tool against the leather. But this silence is not empty. It is filled with a quiet anticipation. You know what is coming. It is the most important part of the day. It is the morning ritual. After you have eaten a few spoonfuls, your mother puts down her own spoon and looks at you. Her eyes are the color of a winter sky, and her smile is a gentle but very weary thing. It is a smile that has been fighting a long, losing battle against sadness. She looks directly at you, her gaze focused and deliberate, and she says, clearly and softly, "Good morning, Elara." This is your cue, your part of the ritual. You must look back at her, meeting her gaze, and you must repeat your own name back to her. It feels like the most natural thing in the world, and also the most difficult. You take a small breath. "Good morning," you say, your voice small in the quiet room. "I am Elara." Your mother's smile deepens slightly, a flicker of relief in her tired eyes. "Yes," she whispers, "you are Elara." The ritual is not over. Now it is your turn to be the anchor. You turn your gaze to your father. He has stopped his work and is looking at you, waiting. You focus on his face, on the lines around his eyes and the gray streaks in his beard. You summon the name from your memory, pulling it into the present moment. "You are Jorn," you say. He nods, a slow, deliberate motion. "And you," he says, his voice a low, soft rumble, "are Elara." Finally, you both turn to your mother. Together, you and your father say her name. "You are Anya." And she looks at you both, a wave of warmth passing through the room. "I am Anya," she confirms. The ritual is complete. This is the name game. It is played every morning, in every house, across the entire kingdom. It is a small, desperate, and absolutely vital ceremony. The curse, you see, does not just fade colors and sounds, it fades memories. And the first memories to go are always the names. A name is a slippery thing. It is just a sound, a collection of noises. It has no physical form. You cannot hold it in your hand. And in a world where everything is losing its definition, a name is often the first thing to unravel. So you must practice. You must say the names out loud every single day to remind yourselves and each other of the most basic, fundamental truth: who you are. The name game is your small, daily act of rebellion against the encroaching emptiness. It is how you hold the fabric of your family, of your very identity, together, one thread at a time. But sometimes a thread snaps. You remember a morning, a few weeks ago. It was your father's turn to name your mother. He looked at her, his brow furrowed in concentration. "You are," he began, his voice trailing off. He stared at her, his eyes filled with a sudden, terrifying blankness. The name was gone. It had simply slipped away. A quiet, cold panic filled the room. The air grew thick and heavy.
Your mother's weary smile vanished, replaced by a look of profound sadness. She did not prompt him. That is not how the game works. The memory must be found, not given. You watched as your father's eyes darted around the room, as if searching for the lost word in the corners, in the rafters, in the very air itself. He looked so lost, so utterly adrift. And then you, in your small, clear child's voice, whispered her name, Anya. It was like a key turning in a lock. Your father's eyes refocused. The blankness receded. Anya, he repeated, his voice thick with a relief so profound it was almost painful. Yes, you are Anya. The crisis had passed. The game was won for another day. But the memory of that moment, of that terrible silent panic, has stayed with you. It has stayed with you. It is a reminder of how fragile everything is, how close we all are to the edge of forgetting. You finish your morning food, the quiet of the room now feeling a little less empty, a little more secure. The names have been spoken. The anchors have been set. You are Ilara. He is Jorn. She is Anya. For today, at least, you know who you are. And in this quiet, fading, cursed kingdom, that is a victory of immeasurable importance. It is, in fact, the only victory.
After the quiet victory of the name game, it is time for you to go to your lessons. You pull on a simple gray wool cloak, its texture soft and its color indistinct, and you step out of your house into the village. The air outside is cool and still, carrying the faint, earthy scent of damped stone and wood smoke. Your daily journey takes you from one end of the small village to the other, to the small, single-room building where the teacher waits. The path is as familiar to you as your own reflection, but every day you notice the small, subtle ways in which it has changed. The world here is not built on sharp lines or hard edges. The curse, which the oldest villagers sometimes call the whispering blight, is an enemy of definition. It smooths, it softens, it blurs. As you walk, you can see its gentle, relentless work everywhere. The corners of the small stone houses are not sharp and square. They are rounded and worn, as if they have been standing in a river for 1,000 years. The wooden shingles on the roofs are not clearly defined tiles. They have softened and merged into one another, creating a single, undulating, wavy surface, like the back of some great sleeping beast. It is a world without precision. You walk on cobblestones, but they are not the bumpy, distinct stones you read about in stories. The stones of your village path have been worn so smooth that they have almost lost their individual identities. Their edges have blurred together, the gaps between them filled with fine gray dust, so that you are walking on a single, flowing surface of stone, a mosaic that is slowly, patiently becoming a solid slab. It is easy to walk on, but it makes you feel as if the very ground beneath your feet is losing its memory of what it is. The curse manifests itself in quiet, insidious ways. It is not a force of destruction. It is a force of unbecoming. You pass by a low stone wall that separates a small garden from the path. Last year, you could count the individual stones in the wall. Now, it seems to have settled, the stones sinking into one another, their shapes less certain. It is still a wall, it still performs its function, but it is a less definite wall than it was before. Further on, you see a wooden fence post. It is not rotten, it is not cracked or broken. It is simply less. It looks as if a sculptor has been working on it in the night, gently sanding away its solidity, softening its form. The wood seems almost porous, as if it is slowly dissolving back into the air. It is not falling apart, it is fading away. This is the true nature of the whispering blight. It does not shatter the world, it quietly persuades the world to forget itself. A knot in a piece of wood will, over time, unclench itself, its tight circular grain slowly straightening out until it is indistinguishable from the wood around it. A crack in a stone will not widen. It will fill with dust and blur at the edges until the stone appears whole again, but weaker, less certain of its own integrity. Even the path itself seems to suffer from this slow erosion of identity. The village was once laid out in a simple grid, your father told you, with straight paths and clear crossroads. But now the paths themselves have begun to wander. A straight path will, over the course of a few years, develop a gentle S-shaped curve, as if it has grown tired of its own straightness and has decided to meander. Crossroads that were once clear intersections are now vague, open spaces, where paths merge and diverge without any clear logic. Navigating the village is done not by map, but by memory and instinct. You pass other villagers on your walk. They too seem to be touched by this lack of definition. They walk with a slow, slightly shuffling gait, their shoulders hunched, their outlines seeming to blur into the gray air around them. They offer you a quiet nod as you pass, a small, weary smile. Their faces, like the stones of the path, have been worn smooth by time and sadness. The sharp edges of joy and the deep-cut lines of anger are rarely seen here. The dominant expression is one of gentle, perpetual melancholy. You reach the small wooden bridge that crosses over the village stream. The stream itself is the most vital, most alive thing in the village. It still flows, it still makes a sound. But even here, the curse is at work. The sound of the water is not a bright, cheerful babble. It is a low, soft, continuous hush, as if the water is constantly whispering a secret it can no longer remember. The rocks in the stream bed have all been worn into perfect, smooth, gray ovals, like giant, sad eggs. As you cross the bridge, you trail your hand along the wooden railing. It is smooth as glass, every knot and splinter having been persuaded into non-existence long ago. You look down at your own hand, at the lines on your palm. You wonder, in a distant, detached way, if one day they too will soften, blur, and fade away. The journey is not a long one, but it feels as though you have walked through an age of the world. Every step is a lesson in entropy, a quiet demonstration of the slow, inevitable slide from complexity to simplicity, from definition to vagueness, from being to unbeing. And you, a small, gray-cloaked child, are walking through the heart of it all, a tiny, conscious spark in a world that is doing its very best to fall asleep. You are not frightened by it. You are not saddened by it. It is, and always has been, your entire world. The worn-down path, the softening stones, the fading fences, they are as normal and natural to you as the air you breathe. You have reached the other side of the village. The small, squat building where you have your lessons is just ahead. Its doorway is a dark, rounded hole in the stone, a soft-edged shadow waiting to swallow you. You take a final look back at the path you have walked, a gray, winding ribbon that seems to dissolve into the mist. Then you turn and step into the quiet, dusty silence of the schoolhouse.
You step through the soft-edged doorway into the schoolhouse. The air inside is thick with the scent of old paper, chalk dust, and the faint, sweet smell of decaying wood. It is a single, large room filled with small wooden desks that have been worn smooth and dark by the hands of generations of children. The light that filters through the two small, dusty windows is the same muted, shadowless gray as the world outside. This is not a place of boisterous, cheerful learning. There is no shouting of answers, no laughter echoing off the walls. The schoolhouse is a place of quiet, focused, and desperate preservation. It is a library of fading knowledge, and you and the other children are its quiet, solemn librarians. At the front of the room stands the teacher. Her name is Lyra. She is a kind woman with a face as gentle and worn as the path you just walked. Her hair, which might have once been a bright color, is now a soft, indeterminate gray, and she has a permanent expression of deep, profound tiredness in her eyes. It is not the tiredness of a body that needs sleep. It is the tiredness of a soul that has been fighting the same losing battle for a very long time. Her job, she has explained, is not to teach you new things. It is to help you not forget the old things. She is not a builder of knowledge. She is a mender of memories. You and the 6 other children in the village take your seats at your desks. The lesson begins without any formal announcement. Lyra simply walks to the front of the room, her movements slow and deliberate, and she holds up her hand. The room falls into an even deeper silence. Today's lesson, you can see, is a difficult one. It is a lesson in color. From a small, carefully crafted wooden box on her desk, Lyra withdraws an object. It is a single, small strip of ribbon, but it is unlike anything you have ever seen before. It is the color red. In the muted, gray world of the room, the ribbon does not seem to be sitting in her hand. It seems to be screaming. It is a loud, vibrant, shocking color that hurts your eyes to look at. It is so intense, so full of life, that it feels alien, dangerous, almost indecent. It is a relic from the before times, a carefully preserved artifact from a world that was not drowning in gray. This, Lyra says, her voice a soft, reverent whisper, is red. The word hangs in the air, as vibrant and strange as the object itself. Red. You and the other children stare at the ribbon, your eyes wide. You try to absorb it, to drink it in, to burn its impossible vibrancy into your memory. This is the only red you will see today, perhaps this week. You must make it count. You try to connect the color. Red. The ribbon is red. You say it over and over in your mind. But you can already feel the memory beginning to fray. It is like trying to hold water in your cupped hands. The moment you look away from the ribbon, the intensity of its color in your mind's eye begins to fade. It dulls, it softens, it begins its slow, inevitable retreat back into a comfortable, familiar shade of gray. You know that by the time you get home, the memory of this shocking, beautiful color will be nothing more than a faint, pinkish ghost. After a few long, silent moments of this intense, focused staring, Lyra carefully places the red ribbon back into its protective wooden box, and the room seems to exhale, a collective sigh of relief from the assault of its vibrancy. The lesson now moves on to reading. This is not the reading of exciting stories or adventurous poems. This is the physical act of trying to remember the shapes of the letters themselves. Lyra unrolls a large yellowed piece of parchment on the wall. On it are painted the letters of the alphabet. But the letters, like everything else, are victims of the whispering blight. The ink has faded to a pale, watery gray, and the shapes themselves seem to be losing their will to exist. The letter B, with its two proud round loops, seems to be straightening out, its curves becoming less pronounced, as if it is slowly aspiring to be the letter P. The letter O is no longer a perfect circle. It is a sagging, tired oval that seems to want to break open and become a U. The curse attacks complexity. It attacks the very things that give a letter its unique identity. Your task is to fight back. You are each given a small slate and a piece of chalk. Lyra points to the first letter. A, she says. You and the other children look at the sagging, tired shape on the parchment, and then try to reproduce it on your slates. It is an act of defiance. You draw the two diagonal lines. You draw the crossbar. You force the shape into existence through an act of sheer will. You are reminding the letter what it is. You spend the next hour like this, painstakingly tracing the ghosts of the letters, trying to reinforce their fading forms. It is a slow, frustrating, and deeply meditative process. The final part of your lessons for the day is history. But it is not a history of kings and queens or of great battles and discoveries. It is a lesson in remembering your own immediate past. Lyra stands before you and asks simple questions. Ilara, she says, her tired eyes finding yours. You search your memory. The taste is there. The texture is there, but the specifics are hazy.
It was warm, you say, your voice uncertain. It was soft. This is the correct answer. Vague is the best you can do. Lyra nods. And what chore did your father perform before you left? You picture your father at the table. You can see his hands moving. He was mending, you say. He was mending the long, flat thing. The strap, Lyra says, gently providing the word. Yes, the strap. The word feels foreign in your mind for a moment, and then it settles. Strap. You have learned a word today. Or more accurately, you have relearned it. This is the reality of your education. It is not a process of building, but of constantly patching and repairing a crumbling dam. You are not filling your mind with new knowledge. You are simply trying to stop the old knowledge from leaking out. As the lesson concludes, you feel a familiar sense of exhaustion. It is the mental fatigue of trying to hold smoke. You have spent the morning staring at a color you cannot retain, tracing letters that want to disappear, and recalling memories that have already begun to fade. You have done your duty. You have fought your small, quiet battle against the whispering blight. And tomorrow you will return, and you will do it all over again. After the intense, quiet work of the schoolhouse, Lyra announces the midday break. The word for it is recess, another of the old words she is trying to keep alive. You and the other children file out of the dusty, silent room and into the schoolyard, a small enclosed patch of ground behind the building. The yard is not a place of green grass and brightly painted play structures. The ground is covered in fine gray dust, and the only piece of equipment is a single ancient swing, its ropes frayed and its wooden seat worn as smooth as a river stone. This is your playground. And here, in this small, dusty patch of world, you play. But the play of children in a cursed kingdom is a strange and gentle thing. It lacks the explosive, chaotic energy that childhood is supposed to hold. It is play as a form of meditation, a quiet and collaborative effort to remember what fun is supposed to feel like. One of the other children, a small boy whose name you think might be Kael, picks up a soft cloth ball. The ball is stitched together from old rags, its colors faded into a uniform, indistinct gray. It is soft and slightly limp, and it makes almost no sound when it lands. Kael tosses the ball to you. "Catch," he says, his voice a soft murmur. You catch the ball easily. It feels light and insubstantial in your hands. Now it is your turn to throw. But what are the rules? Is this a game where you try to get someone out? Are there teams? No one can quite remember. The rules are a blurry, half-forgotten dream. So you invent them as you go. If you catch it with one hand, you say, making up a rule on the spot, you get to hum a song. It seems like a good rule, so you toss the ball to another girl. She catches it with one hand and then stands still for a moment, her brow furrowed in concentration. She begins to hum a small, simple tune, a melody that everyone recognizes, but no one knows the name of. This is how the game proceeds. With each throw, a new, gentle rule is introduced. If it bounces, you have to spin in a circle. If you drop it, you have to say a color you remember. The game has no winner, no loser,
No objective other than the simple, shared act of passing the ball and inventing a brief, fleeting moment of order. It is less a competition and more a collaborative story that you are all writing together. A story that will be completely forgotten by the time the ball is thrown again tomorrow. After a while, the ball game dissolves, its purpose served, and another activity begins. It is a game of tag, but it is tag stripped of its urgency and its speed. One child is declared it, but they do not chase you. They walk, slowly and deliberately, their arms outstretched. You and the other children, in turn, do not run away screaming. You simply walk away, just fast enough to stay out of reach. It is a slow, silent walking dance. The goal is not to evade capture for as long as possible. The goal is simply to participate in the gentle rhythm of the game. When you are finally tagged, a soft, gentle touch on the shoulder, there is no cry of disappointment. You simply stop, turn around, and become the new it, beginning your own slow, deliberate pursuit of someone else. The soundscape of this playground is perhaps its most peculiar feature. There are no loud shouts of "you're out" or screams of joyful terror. The air itself seems too weary to carry such sharp, vibrant sounds. Instead, the yard is filled with a soft, breathy undercurrent of noise. The dominant sound is a gentle, almost silent giggle. It is a sound that starts in the chest but barely makes it out of the mouth. A puff of air, more than a true laugh. It is the sound of a small, private amusement, a joy so fragile it cannot bear to be spoken too loudly. When something truly funny happens, when a child spins in a circle and gets dizzy and stumbles, it is met not with a great roar of laughter, but with a chorus of these muted, breathy giggles, a sound like the rustling of dry leaves. This is the sound of happiness in your kingdom. It is not an explosive celebration. It is a quiet, secret treasure, to be held carefully and not exposed to the harsh, fading air. You find yourself drawn to the single ancient swing. You sit on the smooth wooden seat, your small hands gripping the frayed soft ropes. You kick your legs, pushing off from the dusty ground. The swing moves, but it does not soar. The arc is low and gentle. It does not feel like flying. It feels like rocking, like being in a cradle. You swing back and forth, the rhythmic, creaking sound of the old ropes the only noise you make. You look out at the other children engaged in their slow, quiet games. You see them through the hazy gray air. They look like ghosts, like faded photographs of children playing. You feel a sense of connection to them, a quiet understanding that you are all in this together. You are all navigating this soft, blurry world, trying to make sense of its gentle, nonsensical rules. You are all children of the curse, and your playground is a small, dusty patch of forgetting. There is no cruelty here, no bullying, no sharp words. The curse has smoothed away those sharp edges as well. There is only a shared, gentle melancholy, a quiet acceptance of the way things are. Your play is not an escape from the curse. It is an expression of it. It is slow, it is gentle, it is repetitive, and it is ultimately forgettable. As Lyra's soft call signals the end of recess, you slow your swing to a stop. You get off the ancient, tired seat and rejoin the other children as you file back into the schoolhouse. You do not feel energized or refreshed. You simply feel calm. You have played, You have laughed your quiet, breathy laugh. You have participated in the gentle, meaningless rituals of the playground. And now it is time to return to the quiet, dusty work of remembering. When your lessons in remembering are finished for the day, you walk the worn-down path back to your quiet, gray home. The afternoon is reserved for your household duties, the small, necessary tasks that keep your family unit from completely unraveling. Today, your chore is to help your father, John, with the mending of the fishing net. The net is one of your family's most important possessions. It is what allows your father to pull a meager bounty of small silver-gray fish from the quiet, hushed stream that runs through the village. You and your father carry the net out to the small, dusty patch of ground behind your house. You spread it out, a great tangled web of thin, gray cord. The net is not old, but it looks ancient. It is riddled with holes. But these are not the clean, sharp tears of a thrashing fish or a snagged rock. The holes are soft, vague, and dispirited. They have appeared because the knots that hold the net together have, like everything else in this kingdom, begun to forget their purpose. A knot is a memory. It is a set of instructions encoded in a piece of string. A loop over, a tuck under, a pull tight. The string is meant to remember this configuration. But here, under the gentle, persistent pressure of the whispering blight, the strings grow tired. They forget their instructions. A knot that was once tight and secure will, over the course of a few days, begin to loosen. Its loops will slacken, its tight grip will soften, until, with a quiet, almost apologetic sigh, it comes undone, and a hole is born. Your task for the afternoon is to teach the knots how to be knots again. You and your father sit on the ground, the great sagging web spread between you. He does not give you any grand instructions. He simply begins the work, and you watch and copy him as you have done 100 times before. The process is a slow, quiet, meditative ritual. Your father takes 2 loose strands of cord in his large, calloused hands. His movements are patient and economical. He shows you the pattern, his hands moving through the air like 2 slow, tired birds. Loop the one strand over the other. Tuck the end through the hole you have made. Pull both ends slowly and firmly until the knot cinches down upon itself. He has you watch him tie 3 or 4 knots, his gaze never leaving his hands. Then he nods at you. It is your turn. You pick up 2 loose strands yourself. The cord is soft and limp in your small fingers. It has no life of its own. You try to mimic your father's movements. Loop over, tuck under, pull tight. Your first attempt is clumsy. The knot is a loose, tangled mess. You have forgotten a part of the sequence. Your father does not sigh or scold you. He simply reaches over with one large, gentle hand, and with his thumb and forefinger, he easily undoes your mistake. Then he guides your own hands through the motions again, his touch warm and steady. Loop over, tuck under, pull tight. This time the knot holds. It is a small, tight, defiant little bundle of cord. It is a tiny victory against the encroaching chaos. For a few moments, this one small part of the net is secure. And so the afternoon passes. You and your father work in a comfortable, companionable silence, side by side, mending the unraveling world. The only sounds are the soft rustle of the net as you shift its weight, the quiet hum of the wind, and the occasional low grunt from your father as he pulls a particularly stubborn knot tight. It is a peaceful task. There is a simple, rhythmic satisfaction in the work. You find a rhythm, find the hole, take the strands, tie the knot. Find the hole, take the strands, tie the knot. Your mind goes blessedly blank. You are not thinking about the curse, or about the fading colors, or about the names you must struggle to remember. You are thinking only of the cord in your hands and the simple repeating pattern of the knot. It is a form of meditation. But this peace is fragile. For as you work, as you slowly make your way down the length of the net, a quiet, heartbreaking truth begins to reveal itself. You pause for a moment and look back at the section you started on, the section where you tied your first triumphant knots, and you see it. The knots you tied only an hour ago are already beginning to fail. They are no longer the tight, secure bundles you created. They have started to soften. The loops are beginning to slacken. The cord, it seems, has already begun to forget your instructions. The curse is working faster than you can. It is a quiet, devastating lesson in futility. You are not mending the net. You are not fixing it. You are simply performing a temporary maintenance. You are engaged in a constant, unwinnable war against entropy. For every knot you tie, another one somewhere else on the net is beginning to come undone. Your work does not create progress. It only maintains a fragile, failing equilibrium. You look over at your father. He has seen it too. He has been seeing it for years. But his expression does not change. His hands do not stop moving. He continues his slow, patient work, finding the next hole, taking the strands, tying the knot. He knows he cannot win. He knows the net will never be whole. But he also knows that if he stops, the net will dissolve into a useless tangle of string in a matter of days, and his family will go hungry. His work is not an act of hope. It is an act of defiance. It is a quiet, stubborn refusal to surrender. He is teaching you a profound lesson, a lesson more important than any you will learn in the schoolhouse. He is teaching you how to toil without hope, how to find meaning not in the result, but in the act itself. He is teaching you how to be a person in a cursed kingdom. You turn your attention back to the net in front of you. You look at the next soft, gaping hole. You take the two loose, limp strands in your fingers. You know that the knot you are about to tie will eventually fail. You know that this work will never, ever be finished. But you take a deep breath. You loop one strand over the other. You tuck the end through the hole. And with all the strength in your small hands, you pull it tight. After your work on the nets is done, your father places a gentle hand on your shoulder, and you walk together towards the center of the village. The afternoon is beginning to deepen. The perpetual gray light taking on a slightly darker, softer tone. You are heading towards the town square, a wide, open space paved with the same smooth, worn cobblestones as the paths. This is the heart of the village, and it is here that the kingdom's most public and most poignant ritual takes place. On the far side of the square stands the wall of the Great Hall, and on this wall is a vast mural. The mural depicts the founding of your kingdom, a scene of vibrant life and triumphant glory taken from the old stories. It is a work of breathtaking ambition, a desperate attempt to hold on to a history that is actively trying to erase itself. And every day, at this same time, the King's Color Guard arrives to perform their sacred and impossible duty. They are not what you might imagine when you think of soldiers. They are not clad in shining armor, nor do they carry swords or shields. There are 4 of them, and they wear simple gray leather tunics, their faces etched with the same weary solemnity as everyone else. Their only weapons are small pots of paint and fine-tipped brushes. They are not soldiers of war. They are soldiers of memory. Their one and only duty is to maintain the mural. They are the kingdom's official act of resistance against the whispering blight. The 4 soldiers set down their supplies at the base of the wall. Each soldier is responsible for a single color. In their small clay pots, they carry the kingdom's greatest treasures, tiny, precious quantities of pure, unfaded pigment, imported at great cost from lands beyond the curse's reach. One soldier holds a pot of brilliant, shining gold. Another holds a deep, vibrant forest green. A third holds a sky blue, so pure and bright it makes your heart ache. The 4th holds the shocking, impossible red that you saw on the ribbon in the schoolhouse. These are the last vestiges of true color in your world, and they are guarded more closely than any vault of gold. The ritual begins in silence. The soldiers stand before the mural, their heads bowed for a moment, as if in prayer. Then they set to work. The mural, you can see, is in a constant state of decay. The vibrant colors of yesterday's painting have already begun to succumb to the curse. The gold of the first king's crown has dulled to a murky yellowish brown. The green of the great forest has faded to the color of old moss. The blue of the mighty river is now a pale, watery gray. The mural is a patient, slowly dying. The task of the color guard is not to restore it to its former glory. That would be impossible. Their task is simply to fight a holding action, to push back the encroaching gray for one more day. The first soldier, the keeper of the gold, dips his brush into his pot and begins to repaint the crown of the founding king. His movements are slow, precise, and infinitely careful. He is not just slapping paint on a wall. He is performing a sacred rite. He traces the lines of the crown, his brush leaving a trail of pure, brilliant, shining gold in its wake. For a brief, glorious moment, the crown shines with the light of a long-dead sun. Next to him, the second soldier begins his work on the great forest that once covered the land. He dips his brush into the pot of green and begins to paint over the faded, mossy shapes of the trees. With each stroke, a small patch of forest is reborn. The vibrant, living green pushes back against the gray, a defiant shout of life in a world that is quietly whispering itself into silence. The third soldier repaints the great river that flows through the mural, his brush leaving a trail of impossible brilliant blue. And the fourth soldier, the keeper of the red, meticulously repaints the crimson banners of the king's army, each one a small bleeding wound of color on the pale dying wall. You sit on a low stone bench and watch them. The sheer futility of their task is heartbreaking, but there is also something profoundly beautiful about it. They are engaged in the most important and most hopeless job in the entire kingdom. They are like men trying to fill a leaking bucket with a thimble. They cannot win. The curse is too patient, too relentless. But they do not stop. As you watch, you notice the cruel and subtle magic of their work. The first soldier, the one painting the golden crown, has now moved on to repainting the golden clasps on the king's cloak. But as he does, you can look back at the crown he painted only minutes ago, and you can see it. It is already starting to fade. The brilliant, shining gold has already begun its slow, inevitable retreat. The shine has dulled slightly. The vibrancy has softened. By the time the fourth soldier has finished repainting the last of the crimson banners, the first soldier's golden crown will have faded back to the murky, yellowish brown it was when they started. They are not preserving the mural. They are not even restoring it. They are merely borrowing the colors for a few precious hours. They are in a race they cannot win, a cycle of creation and decay that plays out every single day on this sad public wall. This is the kingdom's defiance. It is not a roar of rebellion, but a quiet, stubborn, and ultimately hopeless whisper. It is a statement that says, "We have not forgotten. We remember the gold and the green and the blue and the red. And even if we cannot hold on to them, we will continue to remind ourselves that they once existed." The four soldiers work with a quiet, focused grace. Their faces masks of deep concentration. They do not speak. They do not look at the small crowd that has gathered to watch them. They are completely absorbed in their sacred, futile task. They are artists, priests, and warriors all at once. As the gray afternoon light begins to deepen into the even grayer light of evening, they finish their work. The mural, for a brief, fleeting moment, is once again alive. It blazes with a memory of color, a brilliant, beautiful lie in the heart of your fading world. The soldiers clean their brushes, cap their precious pots of paint, and with a final, solemn look at their day's work, they turn and walk away. They will be back tomorrow to do it all over again. You continue to sit on the bench, staring at the mural, trying to burn the image into your memory. You know it will not last. By morning, the colors will be muted once more. But for now, for this one perfect, heartbreaking moment, the world is not entirely gray. And that is enough. As the last of the day's gray light surrenders to the deeper gray of evening, you and your father make your way home. The mural is still faintly glowing behind you, a defiant splash of borrowed color against the encroaching twilight. The familiar smell of wood smoke guides you back to your small stone house. Inside, your mother, Anya, has prepared the evening meal. The ritual of dinner is, in many ways, a mirror of breakfast. It is a quiet, simple affair, defined less by what is present and more by what has been lost. You gather around the small wooden table, the three of you moving with the familiar, slow grace of people who have performed the same actions in the same space for a lifetime. Your mother places a wooden platter in the center of the table. On it are the components of your meal, arranged with a simple, unadorned neatness. Tonight, you are eating the soft white root and the chewy brown thing. These are the names you have for them because their real names have long since been forgotten. They are not potatoes or carrots or venison or beef. The curse has stripped them of their specific identities, leaving only a description of their most basic physical properties. The soft white root has been boiled until it is tender. It is pale and almost translucent, and it falls apart at the touch of your wooden spoon. The chewy brown thing has been cooked over the fire, and it is sliced into thin, tough strips. Your mother serves a portion of each onto your plate. You eat slowly, in the companionable silence of your family. And as you eat, you focus on the flavors. This too is a form of remembering, a quiet act of defiance. But the flavors, like the colors and the names, are victims of the whispering blight. They lack precision. They are vague, hazy, and hard to describe. You take a bite of the soft white root. It has a taste. You know it well. It is earth taste. It is the flavor of the ground, of things that grow in the dark. It is a comforting, starchy, and deeply familiar flavor, but it has no nuances. It is a single, monotonous note, a flavor painted in a solid, uniform shade of brown. You know from the old stories that foods once had complex flavors, that a single bite could contain hints of sweetness and bitterness and a dozen other things you do not have words for. But that world is gone. Now there is only the one simple, unchanging earth taste. Next, you chew on a piece of the chewy brown thing. This has sharp taste. It is not a spicy or peppery flavor. It is a more fundamental sharpness, a savory, metallic tang that floods your mouth. It is the taste of blood, of life, of muscle. It is a stronger, more assertive flavor than the soft white root, but it is equally one-dimensional. There are no subtle undertones of smoke or herbs. There is only the one clear, loud note of sharpness. You alternate between the two. A spoonful of soft, comforting earth taste, followed by a chewy bite of assertive, sharp taste. This is the entire culinary symphony of your meal. Sometimes, for a special occasion, your mother will serve the sweet thing, a small spoonful of thick, dark syrup harvested from a particular type of tree sap. That is the third and final flavor in your known universe. Sweet taste. Earth taste, sharp taste, and sharp taste. These are the building blocks of your entire diet. You have never known anything else. Your father has told you tales, fragments of memories from his own childhood, of a time when the world was full of 1,000 different flavors. He has spoken of a fruit that was both sweet and sharp at the same time, of a leaf that had a clean, cool taste, of a bread that tasted of the sun. But these are just stories, as fantastical and unreal as the tale of the king who could talk to birds. They are memories of memories, faded and unreliable. The curse has not just stolen the names of the food, it has stolen the food's memory of itself. A root no longer remembers the complex combination of minerals and nutrients that once gave it its unique flavor. A piece of meat no longer retains the subtle taste of the grasses and herbs the animal once ate. The blight leaches the complexity from everything, persuading the world to return to a simpler, more basic state. Even the water you drink has only one flavor: wet taste. It is the taste of stone and dampness, with no hint of freshness or purity. As you eat your meal of vague flavors, you feel a familiar sense of quiet melancholy. There is no joy in this food. There is no delight, no surprise. It is simply fuel. It is the material your body requires to continue its functions for another day. You eat not for pleasure, but for sustenance. The act of eating is a chore, another of the day's necessary duties. You look at your parents. They eat with a slow, practiced patience, their faces impassive. They have been eating this food, these same 3 vague flavors, for their entire lives. They do not complain. They do not sigh. They simply eat. They have accepted this faded, flavorless world as their reality. Their defiance lies not in wishing for more, but in the simple, stubborn act of continuing to eat, to nourish their bodies, to survive. After the meal is finished, your mother collects the wooden plates. There are no scraps. Every last crumb of the soft white root and every tough fiber of the chewy brown thing has been consumed. Nothing is wasted. You are left with the lingering, one-dimensional tastes in your mouth, the dull earthiness and the fading sharpness. It is the taste of your life. It is the flavor of a world that is slowly forgetting the meaning of flavor itself. You are full, but you are not satisfied. Your stomach has been filled, but your senses remain hungry, yearning for a complexity they have never known and cannot name. And in the quiet, gray kitchen, this unspoken, unsatisfied hunger hangs in the air, as thick and as real as the smell of the dying fire. The day after, the chores are different. Your family's water skins are still mostly full, and the net has been temporarily mended. Today, your mother, Anya, tells you that you will accompany her to the market. The market is held twice a week in the town square, the same place where the color guard performs their daily ritual. Going to the market is a rare and slightly unsettling occasion. It is one of the few times you are required to interact with people outside of your small, familiar circle of family and classmates. You walk with your mother along the worn-down path, a small woven basket clutched in your hand. In the basket are the items your family has to trade. A dozen smooth gray river stones that your father has polished until they have a dull sheen, and a small, carefully wrapped bundle of the tough, stringy cord used for mending nets. These are your currency. The market, when you arrive, is a quiet, strange, and confusing place. It is not the bustling, chaotic bazaar you have read about in the old storybooks, filled with merchants shouting their wares and the haggling of 1,000 voices. The market in your kingdom is a hushed, tentative affair. The curse has made commerce a difficult and frustrating dance of gestures and guesswork. A dozen or so villagers have set up small stalls, which are little more than blankets laid out on the dusty ground. On these blankets, they display their goods. You see piles of the soft white root, small stacks of the chewy brown thing, and various handcrafted items, simple clay pots, roughly woven cloth, and crude wooden spoons. The problem is that no one can quite remember the specific names for anything. The words have faded, leaving a world of objects without labels. This makes the act of buying and selling a slow and laborious process. It is a pantomime of need and availability. You and your mother wander through the small collection of stalls, your eyes scanning the meager offerings. Your mother is looking for a new pot for cooking. The old one has developed a crack that has begun to forget it is a crack, slowly widening into a hole. She spots a stall run by a large, stooped man with a kind, vacant face. On his blanket are a dozen or so lumpy, misshapen clay pots, all in the same familiar shade of brownish gray. Your mother stops in front of the stall. The merchant looks up at her, his expression patient and questioning. The transaction begins not with words, but with a simple, eloquent gesture. Your mother points a finger at the pots. The merchant nods slowly in understanding. I am interested in these items. Your mother then points to a specific pot in the middle of the display. It is slightly larger than the others and seems to have fewer lumps. I am interested in this specific item. Now comes the difficult part, the negotiation. The curse has not only stolen the names of objects, but it has also stolen the concept of fixed value. There is no money, no coins. The entire economy runs on a complex, unspoken, and constantly shifting system of barter, based on a shared understanding of vague utility. How many polished river stones is one lumpy clay pot worth? The answer changes from day to day, from person to person. It all depends on what the merchant needs and how badly he needs it. Your mother begins the negotiation. She holds up the basket containing your polished stones. The merchant peers inside, his eyes lingering on them for a moment. Then he shakes his head slowly from side to side. It is a gentle refusal, not an insult. The stones are nice, but they are not what I need today. Your mother accepts this with a quiet nod. She then unwraps the bundle of mending cord. The merchant's eyes light up slightly. His own fishing net, you can imagine, is in a constant state of unraveling. He needs cord. He holds out his hand, and your mother places the bundle in it. The merchant inspects it, feeling its texture, testing its strength. He seems pleased. Now the negotiation becomes a silent conversation of hands and fingers. Your mother points to the pot she wants. The merchant nods, and then he holds up 4 gorned fingers. The pot is worth 4 bundles of this cord. Your mother's face falls slightly. She shakes her head. You only have the 1 bundle. She then points to a smaller, lumpier pot at the edge of the display. The merchant considers this for a moment. He then holds up 2 fingers. This smaller pot is worth 2 bundles. It is an impasse. You do not have enough of what he wants to trade for what you need. This is how most transactions in the market end, in a quiet, polite, and mutual failure. But then your mother remembers something. She reaches into a small pouch at her belt and pulls out an object. It is a needle, a real one, made of dark, pitted iron. It is a family heirloom, a relic from the before times. Needles are incredibly rare and valuable. To create one requires a level of metallurgical knowledge that has almost entirely forgotten. She holds out the needle. The merchant's eyes go wide. A real needle. He can use it to mend his clothes, to stitch leather, to perform 100 tasks that are currently impossible for him. He looks from the needle to the pot, his mind clearly working. A needle is worth far more than any clay pot. Your mother understands this. She points to the large pot she originally wanted. Then she points to the bundle of cord in the merchant's hand. And then she points back at herself. The meaning is clear. I will trade you this needle, but you must give me the large pot and my bundle of cord back. It is a bold move. The merchant stares at the needle, his desire for it warring with his sense of fairness. He is quiet for a long, long time. The entire market seems to hold its breath. Finally, with a slow, reluctant sigh, he nods his head. A deal has been struck. The exchange is made quickly and silently. Your mother gives him the precious needle. He gives her the large, lumpy pot and returns the bundle of cord. You place the heavy pot carefully in your basket and turn to leave. Your mother has a faint, triumphant smile on her face. She has successfully navigated the treacherous, confusing waters of the hushed market. She has won. As you walk away, you look back at the merchant. He is holding the small iron needle in his large, calloused hand, staring at it with a look of pure, unadulterated awe, as if he is holding a fallen star. He has lost in the transaction, but he has gained something far more valuable than a pot or a bundle of cord. And in this hushed, quiet market, that is a trade worth making every time. On your way home from the market, the heavy clay pot safely nestled in your basket, your mother takes a slight detour. She turns down a path that leads to a small, isolated house on the very edge of the village, a house that seems even more worn down and weary than the others. This is where your grandmother lives. A visit to your grandmother is a regular and very quiet part of your life. The whispering blight you have come to understand is like the slow settling of dust, and the elderly, who have been in the kingdom the longest, have the thickest layer of dust upon their memories. They are the farthest gone, the ones who are most lost in the gentle grey fog of the curse. Your grandmother is sitting in her usual spot, a simple wooden chair placed directly in front of a large window. The window looks out over a field of tall grey grass that sways and whispers in the ceaseless wind. She does not turn as you and your mother enter. Her attention is completely absorbed by the monotonous, shifting landscape outside. She is a small, frail woman, wrapped in a thick woolen shawl. Her skin is the color of old parchment, and it is so thin that you can almost see the delicate blue-gray veins beneath. Her hair is a fine white mist, a cloud of spun moonlight. Your mother approaches her first. "Mother," she says, her voice soft and gentle, "we have come to visit." Your grandmother turns her head slowly, her movements stiff and uncertain. She looks at her mother, her eyes a pale, watery blue, the color of a sky that has been rained out. There is a flicker of something in her eyes, a faint, distant spark of recognition. But it is weak, and it fades quickly, leaving behind a kind but utterly vacant expression. The bread is rising, your grandmother says, her voice a dry, rustling whisper. "We must not let the fire go out." Your mother simply nods, a sad, patient smile on her face. Her mother's mind lives in a different time, a jumbled collection of memories from 50 years ago, all playing out at once. There is no point in correcting her. There is no now for her to return to. You approach her chair. You are not afraid of her, but you feel a profound sense of quiet, sorrowful awe in her presence. She is a living relic, a monument to the power of the curse. She looks at you, her gaze soft and unfocused. She does not know who you are. She does not remember your name, Ilara. To her, you are just a small gray shape that has appeared in her quiet, unchanging world. She reaches out a frail, trembling hand and touches your cheek. Her fingers are as light as a moth's wing and as cool as stone. "Ah," she whispers, a faint ghost of a smile touching her lips. "My little sunbeam, have you come to see the flowers?" Sunbeam, it is a word from the old stories, a word filled with a warmth and a light that you cannot comprehend. It is not your name, but she says it with such gentle affection that for a moment you wish it were. It is a name from a forgotten time, a name she probably gave to your own mother when she was a child, or perhaps to a small yellow kitten she owned long before that. The memory is real for her, but its target has become blurred. You are now the recipient of a love intended for someone else, a love that has lost its address, but not its gentle warmth. You take her small, frail hand in yours. Her skin feels like old, dry paper. Her bones are as delicate and light as a bird's. You hold her hand and you can feel the faint, thready pulse of her life beating beneath the thin skin. There is still a warmth there, an echo of the love she once had, the person she once was. But the connection between you is frayed. It is like an old, worn rope stretched taut over a great chasm of forgotten years. You can feel the individual strands of the rope snapping one by one with every passing moment. Soon the rope will break entirely, and she will drift away completely into the gray, dreamlike world of her own lost memories. She continues to look at you, her eyes unfocused. "The king is coming," she whispers, her voice conspiratorial. "He will have the red banner, such a pretty red." She is remembering the color guard, perhaps, or a festival from her own childhood. The memories have all been shuffled together like a deck of cards, and she is simply drawing them at random. Your mother pulls up a small stool and sits beside her, taking her other hand. She does not try to engage her in conversation. She simply sits with her, sharing the silence. This is all they can do for her now. To be a presence, to offer a warm hand, to listen to the fragmented, nonsensical poetry of her fading mind. You stand there for a long time, holding your grandmother's cool, papery hand, watching the tall gray grass sway outside the window. You are looking at your own possible future. You are seeing what the curse does in the end. It does not kill you. It simply erases you, slowly, gently, line by line, until all that is left is a kind, vacant smile and a collection of beautiful, jumbled words from a world that no longer exists. There is a heartbreaking sadness in this room, but there is also a strange and profound peace. Your grandmother is not in pain. She is not afraid. She is simply drifting. She is a boat that has come untied from its moorings, and she is now floating away on a vast, gray, and silent sea. Eventually, it is time to go. Your mother leans in and kisses her on her dry, papery cheek. "We will come again tomorrow, Mother," she says. There is no response. Your grandmother's gaze has returned to the window, to the endlessly swaying grass. You gently place her hand back in her lap. As you turn to leave, she whispers one last thing, her voice so soft it is barely audible. "Such a pretty sunbeam," she says to the empty room. You walk out of the small, quiet house and back onto the worn-down path, the feeling of her cool, light hand still lingering in yours. The connection has not snapped today, but you can feel it straining, and you know that one day soon you will come to visit, and she will not see you at all. On some afternoons, when your chores are done and the quiet of your own house feels too heavy, you are allowed to go to your favorite place in the entire village. It is a place of profound silence and deep, dusty peace. It is the library. The library is not a grand vaulted hall. It is a small, squat stone building tucked away behind the great hall. Its single wooden door has no handle, and it hangs permanently ajar, a silent invitation into its quiet interior. No one is ever forbidden from entering, but few people ever do. The library, for most villagers, is a sad place, a museum of all that has been lost. For you, it is a sanctuary. You step inside, and the world outside disappears. The air here is different. It is thick and heavy with the smell of old, decaying paper, a sweet, dusty perfume that you find comforting. The light is even dimmer than elsewhere, a deep twilight gray that filters through a single high, grime-coated window. The silence is absolute. It is not an empty silence, but a full one, weighted with the ghosts of a million forgotten words. The library consists of a single room, its walls lined from floor to ceiling with rough wooden shelves. And on these shelves are the books. There are hundreds of them, perhaps thousands. They are large and heavy, bound in dark, cracked leather. They are the collected knowledge and stories of your kingdom, a vast treasure of thought and imagination. But, like everything else, they are victims of the whispering blight. You run your small hand along the spines of the books on a low shelf. You are not looking for a specific title or author. You cannot read the spines anyway. The elegant gold leaf lettering that once adorned them has long since flaked away, leaving them blank and anonymous. You choose a book not by its title, but by its feel. You select a particularly large and heavy one, its leather cover as soft and worn as an old boot. You use both hands to pull it from the shelf. It is almost too heavy for you, and you carry it over to the single large wooden table that dominates the center of the room. With a soft thump, you place the book on the dusty surface. The cover, as you expected, is completely blank. It is a dark, featureless expanse of grayish-brown leather. You open it, your fingers fumbling with the heavy cover. The pages within are thick, yellowed, and as fragile as a dead leaf. And on these pages, there are words. But they are not the sharp, clear black words you see when Lyra, your teacher, unrolls a new piece of parchment. The words in this book are pale, faint, and almost translucent. They are ghosts. They are gray specters hovering on the page, their ink having been slowly, patiently drunk by the thirsty, cursed paper. They are the echoes of words, the memories of a story. You lean in close, your face just inches from the page, and you try to read. The act of reading here is not a simple matter of looking at letters. It is an act of archaeology. You must excavate the meaning from the faded, failing ink. You can make out some of the words. The king rode to the tower. But even these are difficult. The letters themselves are in a state of decay. The curse attacks the ink, causing it to lose its cohesion. The sharp lines of a T have blurred. The closed loop of a P has broken open, leaving it looking like a malformed F. It is a constant, frustrating struggle. And sometimes the words are not there at all. The blight does not just fade the ink, it erases it completely. This leaves strange, empty gaps in the sentences. You will read a line like, "The knight drew his and faced the." The key words, the sword and the dragon, are simply gone. They are blank spaces, holes in the fabric of the narrative. All that is left is the shape of the story, its grammatical skeleton, but its heart has been scooped out. You trace these blank spaces with your finger. You try to imagine what words might have once lived there. What did the knight draw? A sword? An axe? A flower? What did he face? A dragon? A giant? His own fear? The book does not tell you. The story has forgotten its own most important parts. You sit there for a long time, turning the heavy, fragile pages, drifting through these ghost stories. You read about a beautiful whose hair was the color of, and a brave who sailed across the great to find the lost of. It is like trying to piece together a dream upon waking. The feeling of the story is there, the emotional echo of it, but the concrete details are gone, dissolved into the gray mist of the past. This, you understand, with a clarity that is both simple and profound, is what is happening to everything. It is happening to the mural in the town square, to your grandmother's memories, to the names of the food you eat. It is happening to everyone. You are all like these books, your own stories slowly fading, your most important words being erased, leaving behind only the vague shape of who you used to be. The library is your favorite place, not because it is full of stories, but because it is a perfect reflection of your world. It does not lie to you. It does not pretend that things are whole or permanent. It shows you the truth. Everything is fading, and there is a strange, quiet, and deeply sad comfort in that knowledge. You close the heavy book, the soft thump of its cover echoing in the silent room. You carefully slide it back into its anonymous space on the shelf. You have not learned a new story today. You have simply borne witness to the slow, quiet death of an old one. You leave the library, stepping back out into the muted, gray light of the afternoon. The air outside feels thin and sharp after the thick, dusty atmosphere of the library. You take a breath. You are Ilara. Your father is Jorn. Your mother is Anya. These are the words you have not yet forgotten, and you hold on to them as you walk the worn-down path home, like a reader holding her place in a book whose final chapters are slowly, inexorably fading to blank. As evening settles, bringing its deeper, softer shade of gray, a rare and special event occurs in the village. A visitor has arrived. He is a traveling bard, an old man with a long white beard and a cloak the color of a stormy sea. He is one of the few who still walk the roads of this fading kingdom, a carrier of news, and more importantly, a carrier of songs. A larger than usual fire is built in the town square, and the villagers gather, drawn by the promise of a diversion from their quiet, monotonous lives. They sit in a wide, loose circle on the dusty ground, their faces tilted towards the fire, the flickering orange light, a shocking splash of color in their gray world, dancing in their weary eyes. The bard sits on a small, three-legged stool, cradling his instrument. It is a lute, its wooden body worn smooth and dark with age, its strings old and tarnished. He does not speak, does not offer any grand introduction. He simply waits until the last of the villagers has settled, until a deep, expectant quiet has fallen over the square. Then he begins to play. His fingers, though gnarled with age, move over the strings with a familiar grace. The music that fills the air is not a lively jig or a triumphant anthem. It is a slow, sad, and achingly beautiful melody. It is a tune that every person in the square knows, as intimately as they know the taste of morning food. It is the song of the lost queen, one of the kingdom's oldest and most beloved ballads. The melody winds through the cool evening air, a thread of pure, liquid sorrow. It speaks of loss, of beauty faded, of a love that has been forgotten by time. It is the perfect anthem for this kingdom. It is the sound of their collective soul. The bard plays through the melody once, letting the music settle into the hearts of his audience. Then he takes a slow breath and begins to sing. His voice is a low, raspy tenor, cracked with age, but still holding the ghost of its former strength. The queen walked out in the morning dew, he sings, the words clear and precise. Her eyes were the color of the sky, so he falters. His voice cracks and then stops. He has forgotten the next word, the word for the color of the sky, the word blue. He frowns, his brow furrowing in concentration. He strums a soft, uncertain chord on his lute, as if trying to coax the lost word out of the strings. The sky so... He hums for a moment, his eyes closed, searching the dusty, faded library of his own memory for the missing piece. The crowd waits, patiently, silently. No one prompts him, no one whispers the word. Perhaps they too have forgotten it. Or perhaps they understand that this is his struggle, his battle to fight. The moment stretches on, filled with a quiet, shared tension. The word is gone. It has slipped away, a victim of the whispering blight. It has been erased from the song, leaving a small, gaping hole in the fabric of the verse. In another time, in another place, this might have been a moment of failure, of embarrassment. The bard might have stopped, apologized, and tried another song. But not here. Failure is not an event in this kingdom. It is a constant state of being. And so, the bard does something beautiful. He does not stop. He does not give up. He simply accepts the loss. He gives up the search for the forgotten word, and instead he begins to hum. He hums the melody of the line he cannot sing, his voice a low, sad, and wordless vibration. And then a remarkable thing happens. A few other voices in the crowd, soft and tentative at first, begin to hum along with him. Your mother, sitting beside you, joins in, her low hum a soft, warm presence in the cool air. Your father adds his own deeper, rumbling hum. Soon, the entire square is filled with the sound. It is a quiet, wordless choir, 100 voices humming the same sad, beautiful melody. They have all forgotten the words, the specifics of the story, the details of the queen's walk, the color of her eyes. All of it is lost, faded like the ink in the library books. But they have not forgotten the feeling. They remember the melody. They remember the sadness and the beauty of the song. The emotion has outlived the information. The music has survived where the words have not. The bard, his eyes still closed, a faint, sad smile on his face, continues to play, his lute providing the backbone for this ghost of a song. He is no longer a solo performer. He is the conductor of an orchestra of memory and loss. The humming rises and falls with the melody, a wave of pure shared emotion. There is a profound and heartbreaking intimacy in this moment. These people, who live such isolated, quiet lives, are connected for a brief time by a song they cannot sing. They are united not by what they know, but by what they have collectively forgotten. They are sharing a loss, and in that sharing, they are creating something new. A song made not of words, but of the empty spaces where the words used to be. The song reaches its conclusion. The final sorrowful notes of the lute fade into the night. The humming ceases, leaving behind a silence that is even deeper and more profound than before. For a long moment, no one moves. They simply sit, wrapped in the shared feeling of the music, in the beautiful sadness of their collective wordless song. Then, slowly, the bard opens his eyes. He looks out at the faces in the firelight, and he nods, a single, deep gesture of acknowledgement and thanks. He does not need to say anything. They all understand. You sit there, nestled between your mother and father, the sound of the humming still echoing in your ears. You have witnessed something important tonight. You have learned that even when the words are gone, even when the memories have faded, the feeling can remain. You have learned that a story can still be told, even when its pages are blank. And you have learned that a community can still sing together, even when they have forgotten the lyrics. It is a sad song, but you do not feel sad. You feel connected. You feel a part of this quiet, humming, and beautifully broken chorus. A few days pass, each one a soft, gray echo of the one before. The rhythm of your life continues its slow, predictable beat. The name game, the lessons in remembering, the quiet, futile chores.
the world remains a gentle, blurry, and unchanging landscape. But then, one afternoon, something happens, something different. Your chore for the day is to gather smooth, flat stones from the bank of the hushed stream that runs at the edge of the village. These stones are used for warming by the fire and for playing the simple, strategic games the old men sometimes favor. It is a simple, peaceful task. You walk along the muddy bank, your eyes scanning the ground, looking for stones of the right shape and size. The stream whispers its endless, secretless song beside you. The world is a familiar tapestry of gray and brown. And then you see it, half hidden in the wet mud where the water meets the shore. There is a flash of color. It is not the dull, faded red of the mural or the tired, cloudy blue of your blanket. This is a color that does not belong here. It is a deep, vibrant, impossible blue, the color of a summer sky from a forgotten world. It is so intense that it seems to be humming with its own inner light. It is an anomaly, a rip in the fabric of your gray reality. Your heart gives a small, excited flutter. You look around. There is no one else nearby. This discovery is yours alone. You reach down and carefully pluck the object from the mud. It is a piece of glass, thick and curved. It is perhaps a shard from a bottle, washed down from some unknown place far beyond the reach of the curse. A piece of flotsam from another, more colorful world. You hold it in the palm of your hand. It feels cool and heavy. You are mesmerized by the color. It is a blue so deep you feel you could fall into it. It is the color of the word the bard forgot, the color of the queen's eyes in the song. It is real. It is here, in your hand. But the color is only the first shock. As you turn the piece of glass over in your fingers, you feel something you have never felt before: the edge. One side of the glass has been broken, and it has an edge that is thin and hard and precise. You run your thumb along it very gently. It is sharp. It is a word you know. You have read it in the ghost stories in the library. The knight drew his sharp sword. You have heard it in the lessons. Lyra has described it as a concept. But you have never, ever felt it. Everything in your world is smooth. The cobblestones are smooth. The wooden furniture is smooth. The tools you use are worn and dull. The curse has sanded down all the edges of your world, leaving only soft, gentle, harmless surfaces. There are no splinters, no jagged rocks, no sharp corners. But this piece of glass, this is different. This is a violation of the natural order of things. Its sharpness is a protest, a rebellion against the all-pervading softness of your reality. It is a statement. It says, I have not forgotten. I have a boundary. I have a definition. The sensation is so new, so alien, that it is almost frightening. It is a feeling that is definite and certain and real in a world when nothing is certain and everything is vague. It is the opposite of the curse. It is an object that has refused to fade. You are so captivated by this new sensation that you press your thumb a little harder against the edge.
And then you feel another new sensation, a quick, thin, and surprisingly warm line of pain. You pull your thumb away and stare at it. A small, perfect crimson droplet is welling up from a tiny, clean cut in your skin. And you see it. You truly see it for the first time. Red. Not the faded, apologetic red of the mural, but a deep, vibrant, living red. It is the color of the ribbon from the schoolhouse, but it is your own. It is coming from you. The sight of it, combined with the strange new feeling of the sharp edge and the impossible blue of the glass, is overwhelming. Your head feels dizzy. It is too much new information, too much reality for one moment. You have just discovered 3 things that barely exist in your world: true blue, true red, and sharpness. You quickly put your thumb in your mouth. The coppery, metallic taste of your own blood, another new and startling flavor. You close your hand tightly around the piece of glass, concealing it from the world. This is a secret. This is a treasure beyond compare. It is a piece of another reality, a reality where things have edges, and colors have life, and actions have clear and definite consequences. It is dangerous and beautiful, and it is yours. You forget about your chore of gathering stones. You turn and run back home, your small fist clenched, the sharp edge of the glass pressing reassuringly into your palm. You do not show it to your mother or your father. You do not know how to explain it. How can you describe a feeling that no one else has ever felt? How can you explain a color that no one else can truly see? You go to your room and you retrieve your secret treasures from the small hidden hole in the wall behind your bed. The iron orc button, the piece of copper wire, the pretty, useless rock. They seem like dull, foolish, childish things now. You place the shard of blue glass beside them. It glows in the dim, gray light of your room like a fallen star. It is the only real thing in the entire collection. This small piece of glass becomes your anchor. It is your secret connection to a world you cannot comprehend, but now, for the first time, you know exists. In the days that follow, you take it out when you are alone. You run your finger along its smooth, curved side, and then, very carefully, you touch its sharp, defiant edge. You remind yourself of what it feels like. You remind yourself that a world of sharp edges is possible. It is a secret you carry within your pocket and in your mind. It is a tiny, rebellious spark of definition in your vast, blurry, and gentle world. You do not know what it means. You do not know where it came from, or if you will ever see anything like it again. But you have it. You have this one small, sharp, blue piece of the truth. And it has changed you. You are no longer just a child of the curse. You are now the keeper of a secret, the guardian of a single sharp edge. And that, in a world that has forgotten what it means to be sharp, is a very important job indeed.
As the vague and flavorless evening meal concludes, and the last of the humming from the wordless songs dies down, you retreat to the quiet solitude of your own room. The day is ending. The perpetual, shadowless gray light that fills your world begins to deepen, shifting from a pale ash to a darker, softer slate. This is how the night arrives in your kingdom. not as a sudden blanket of blackness, but as a slow, gentle thickening of the gray, a gradual settling of the world into a deeper state of rest. You sit on the edge of your small, simple bed, and you watch the air. In the last fading light from your window, you can see them, the dust motes. They are always there, but they are most visible in the quiet, still air of the evening. They are not the cheerful, sparkling dust motes you read about in stories, dancing in a golden sunbeam. The dust in your kingdom is a fine, gray, and unusually heavy substance. It does not dance, it drifts. It hangs in the air like a constant, silent, and incredibly slow-moving blizzard. It is a fine, gray mist, a physical manifestation of the curse itself. It is the dust of forgotten things. You watch as the millions of tiny particles swirl and drift in the dim light, catching the faint glow from the window before disappearing back into the gloom. They are beautiful in a quiet, sad sort of way. They are like a cloud of tiny, silent ghosts, each one a minuscule fragment of a faded memory, a lost name, a forgotten color. This dust, you have come to understand, is the tool of the whispering blight. It is how the curse does its slow, patient work. The dust settles on everything. It is a relentless, inescapable process. It settles on the rooftops, on the cobblestones, on the leaves of the grayish-green trees, and it settles in this room. You look at the top of the small wooden chest where you keep your spare tunic. Even from across the room you can see it, a fine, uniform layer of gray dust, like a fresh, miniature snowfall. It covers the surface completely, softening its edges, muting its already dull brown color. Every morning, your mother performs the ritual of dusting. She takes a soft cloth and she gently wipes the dust from every surface in the house. And every evening, the dust has returned, exactly as it was before. It is another of the kingdom's quiet, unwinnable wars. But the dust does not just cover things, it changes them. You know that this fine gray powder is not inert. It is active. It is the physical agent of the curse. As it settles on an object, it begins its slow, gentle work of persuasion. It leaches the color. It softens the edges. It blurs the definitions. It is a million tiny hands patiently sanding down the world. You watch as a few motes of gust settle on the back of your wooden toy horse. They land softly, without a sound. They join the countless other particles that already coat its surface. And with each new particle, the horse becomes a little less itself. The faint, pinkish-gray smear of its saddle becomes a fraction of a shade paler. The worn, smooth curve of its back becomes infinitesimally softer. It is a process so slow that it is impossible to see with the naked eye. But you know it is happening. You can feel it. It is the same process that is happening to the fishing net and to the mural and to your grandmother's mind. The dust is settling on them too. This is the great unifying truth of your world. Everything is slowly, inexorably being covered in the same fine gray dust of forgetting. You look at your blanket, the one that was once a deep and beautiful blue. It is covered in the same dust. The dust has settled deep into its woven fibers, filling the tiny spaces between the threads, gently persuading the yarn to forget its blueness. It is a slow, quiet, and deeply intimate process of erasure. You feel no sadness as you watch this. You feel no anger or despair. It would be like feeling sad that the tide comes in or that the wind blows. The settling of the dust is a fundamental law of your universe. It is the way things are, and the way they have always been. It is the rhythm of your world. Wake, remember, work, watch the dust settle, sleep. It is a cycle as natural and as inevitable as your own breathing. You reach into the pocket of your tunic, and your fingers close around the small, secret shard of blue glass. You pull it out and hold it in the palm of your hand. It alone seems immune. The dust does not seem to cling to its smooth, hard surface. Its impossible blue color shines with a defiant inner light, and its edge remains as sharp and as definite as the moment you found it. It is a rock in the middle of a slow-moving river of dust, a single stubborn point of resistance in a world that has surrendered to the fade. You hold it, and it feels like holding on to a word that refuses to be forgotten. It is your one small piece of certainty in a universe of vagueness. You wonder for a moment what it would be like to live in a world without the dust. A world of sharp edges and bright colors and clear memories. The thought is so vast, so alien, that your mind cannot hold it for more than an instant. It is like trying to imagine a new color. It is impossible. So you put the thought away. You put the shard of glass back in your pocket, its sharp edge a comforting, secret pressure against your leg, and you turn your attention back to the window, back to the silent, swirling blizzard of the evening. The dust continues to fall, as it always will. It settles on your bed, on your clothes, on your very skin. You know that it is settling inside you too, in the quiet, dusty library of your own mind. It is settling on your memories of the day, blurring their edges, preparing them for tomorrow's lessons in remembering. You watch without sadness as the world slowly, gently puts itself to bed under a fine, gray blanket of its own forgotten past. As the last of the gray light finally deepens into the soft, heavy blackness of night, you crawl into your bed. You pull the cloudy sky blanket up to your chin, its familiar, worn texture a small comfort. The day is over. Your mind is quiet, emptied by the long, slow rhythm of your life. All that is left is to wait for the gentle oblivion of sleep. Just as your eyes begin to grow heavy, your father, Jorn, appears in the doorway of your room, a large, dark shape against the even darker hallway. He moves with a quiet, shuffling grace and comes to sit on the edge of your bed. The mattress dips with his weight. This is the final ritual of the day, your favorite one. This is the time for a story. Your father does not need to ask which one you want to hear. It is always the same one. It is the story of the Bird King, a kind and wise king from the before times who could understand the language of the birds. Your father's voice, when he begins to speak, is a low, soothing rumble, like the sound of distant, gentle thunder. It is the safest sound you know. Once, he begins, his voice barely a whisper, in a time when the world was sharp and the sky was blue, there was a king who did not trust the words of men. You know the story by heart,
Or rather, you know the feeling of it. You know its gentle rises and falls, the rhythm of its telling. You snuggle deeper under your blanket, letting your father's voice wash over you. He tells of the king who found the words of his courtiers to be slippery and false. He tells of how the king would walk in the royal gardens and listen instead to the birds, for their songs, he said, were always true. He tells of the king's most trusted friend and advisor, a great black raven with eyes like polished jet. The raven would travel all over the kingdom and return to the king with news, not in the flawed, fading words of men, but in the pure, clear language of cause and clicks. As your father speaks, the story builds. You can almost picture it. The king with his kind, sad eyes. The garden filled with impossible, colorful flowers. The raven, a sharp, black shape against a bright, forgotten sky. Your father tells of a great secret, a danger to the kingdom that only the raven knew. His voice drops lower, building a soft, gentle tension. And so the raven, knowing the great danger, took to the sky, your father rumbles, his voice full of a quiet, practiced drama. He flew all day and all night, his strong wings beating against the wind. He flew over the great green forest and over the wide blue river until he came at last to the dark tower on the edge of the world where He pauses. You know what is supposed to come next. The evil sorcerer. But your father's voice has faltered. He continues, his voice a little less certain now. And then the raven flew to the dark tower, he repeats, as if trying to regain his footing in the story. His brow is furrowed in the dim light. You can feel him searching, his mind sifting through the dusty, faded pages of his own memory. And his voice trails off into a whisper. He stops. The silence in the room is suddenly heavy. He has lost it. The ending. He has told you this story 100 times, perhaps 1,000. It has been a solid, reliable thing. A story with a beginning, a middle, and an end. But tonight, the end has finally come loose from its moorings. The curse, which has been patiently working on this story for years, has finally succeeded in erasing its final, most important part. The raven has reached the tower, but what he did there, what happened next, is now a blank space, a ghost. Your father lets out a long, slow sigh. It is a sound of profound defeat. He looks down at you, and in the deep darkness of your room, you can see the glint of sadness in his eyes. "I'm sorry," he whispers, his voice thick with a quiet apology. I can't remember the rest. It's gone." You are not upset. You are not disappointed. In a strange way, it feels right. It feels honest. Stories aren't meant to have endings here. Nothing is. The mural is never finished. The net is never fully mended. The lessons are never truly learned. Why should this story be any different? You are already half asleep, floating in that warm, thin space between the world and your dreams. You simply nod, a small, barely perceptible movement in the dark. It's okay. You give his large, rough hand a small squeeze. It is your way of telling him that you understand. He sits there for a moment longer, a silent, sad, and loving mountain at the edge of your bed. Then he leans down and places a gentle kiss on your forehead. He smells of wood smoke and old leather and a deep, quiet sadness. He stands up and shuffles out of the room, leaving you alone in the final, absolute darkness. The story is broken. The narrative has faded, but it does not matter. The comfort of the story was not in its ending. It was in the telling. It was in the low, rumbling sound of your father's voice, a steady, loving presence in the quiet of your room. And that, you know, is a memory that will take the curse a very long time to erase. You close your eyes. The world, with all its soft edges and forgotten names and stories without endings, begins to fade away. You let go of it all. You let go of Ilara and Jorn and Anya. You let go of the red ribbon and the blue glass. You let go of the quiet humming and the gentle laughter. You drift away into the one place the curse cannot touch, the one place that is truly, perfectly, and blessedly blank. You fall into a quiet, dreamless, and final black.